Good evening, everyone. Let me start by saying on behalf of the City of Lynchburg, I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for attending tonight's meeting. I'm also grateful to Heritage High School. They allowed us to have this very nice brand new facility to have our meeting. My name is Ryan Roberts. I am a City of Lynchburg employee and I will be the project manager over this project. The city has hired a consulting agency by the name of Whitman, Requart and Associates. We'll refer to them as WRA after this, since that middle word is very hard for me to say. So WRA, their role will be to oversee the entire construction phase of the project. And at this time, I'll introduce you to their construction engineer, Brian Henschel. Brian.
Thank you, Ryan. So my name is Brian Henschel with Whitman Requart. I will be involved throughout the construction process. And I guess just first off, I've been building roads and bridges in Lynchburg and in the area for about 20 years. So my wife and my teenage sons will be driving through this site. So I'm both personally and professionally encouraged to help this project go as smoothly as possible, along with Counts and Dobbins, and we'll be introducing you to the various players that will be available to answer your questions both tonight and throughout the process. But Counts and Dobbins was the selected contractor, the low bidder, and Brent Worley is their project manager. Just to introduce a few other folks that I would like to call attention to, because throughout the process, both our company and the contractor will have representatives on site throughout the project that if you have a question, and we're going to provide you with contact information if you do have those questions. But Wayne Dees is our project inspector with Whitman Requart. He'll be on site full-time and making sure that, again, as much as possible, impacts to traffic are reduced as much as possible. And the contractor superintendent is Steve Sprouse in the back there. He also will be a regular fixture in the area. So anyway, the goal of tonight is to, show the project to you a little bit. The truth of it is this is a pretty big project, and there's going to be some impacts to traffic. There's some good news to go along with that, though. First off, the project, I think initially was announced to be a 24-month project. It's 18 months now. We're going to be getting started next week, actually. You'll see the chop house starting to come down. After some of the schools let out, we'll be going full bore. And Brent will be walking us through how construction will progress. But really, this summer, things are really going to get kicked off. But by November 2018, the full intersection will be open and we'll be out of the way. So that's good news. The other good news is, as we mentioned, we've worked very hard to reduce the impacts to the traveling public as much as possible throughout the life of the project. I think initially it was discussed that the ramp coming off 501 to Timberlake may be closed for a lengthy period of time. We've reduced that. In fact, the city has even incentivized the contractor to limit that closure as much as possible, but contractually, he starts paying money if it's closed for more than 30 days. So that ramp will close for basically a 30-day period. At some point later in the project, there'll be lots of notice for that. We'll talk about the detour in just a few moments, but the great news is that there will be access to everything you have access to now from day one till the final ribbon cutting. There are going to be some periods where there'll be some one-way flag traffic during construction, and we'll talk about those. But generally, or absolutely, there'll be access to everywhere you can get to, and if any of you are property owners who may very well be concerned about getting to residences or business owners, that access will be maintained 100% of the time. And that's part of the reason for having and introducing you to some of the folks who will be here full-time. If you have concerns about that, they're more than happy to talk about that, to alert you of upcoming impacts and so forth. So with that, I did think I'd spend just a quick second going over the way the project will look, what's going to happen, and how things will be different 18 months from now than it is today. Then we'll let Brent talk about how we're going to get there. But this is, for all practical purposes, you will see this as a single project. Work will be going on both on the Wards Ferry Road side of Timberlake and the Logan's Lane ramp part of the project, basically at the same time throughout that 18 months, again, to make that as short a window as possible. But coming off 501, the expressway, to get onto Timberlake, you will encounter this roundabout, the traffic circle, which I know there's been a lot of questions about that, and we're happy to answer any questions about how traffic will flow. There's several of these in the city, and more people are getting accustomed to them, as well as, there is going to be a learning curve as traffic learns to navigate that circle. But you'll be exiting 501, going through the traffic circle to come up to the intersection. The main point of the project is to align that off-ramp in Logan's Lane with Wards Ferry Road. We'll be removing the existing light at the current off-ramp, so you'll have one fewer traffic signals in that corridor. And perhaps best of all, on Wards Ferry Road, there'll be dedicated through lanes and dedicated turn lanes, both right and left turn lanes, into each of the side roads, whether you're talking about Adams or School Drive. I guess the good news is you should never stop behind a turning vehicle again once the project's finished. That's the goal. So we'll take some more questions about that. I guess one of the other key questions that I've gotten a couple times, the left turn lane off of Timberlake onto Wards Ferry is going to approximately double in length. I know that, like I said, for 20 years I've tried to make that zigzag just like you all have. And, I know that turn lane fills up very quickly, so the capacity there is doubling. So lots of improvements, and with a little patience, it's really going to improve access to everything in the area. But with that, I want to turn it over to Brent to talk a little bit about how we're going to get there.
Thanks, Brian. Like Brian said, my name is Brent Worley, and I work with Councilman Dobbins, and I'll be the project manager on this job. And I'd just like to kind of repeat what Brian said. The whole purpose of this project, if you don't already know, is to construct a roundabout coming off of the ramp into Logan's Lane and intersecting at Timberlake, and then adding some additional lanes off of Wards Ferry Road. And this whole thing is going to help alleviate all of the traffic congestion that we have in this area now. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but we do have some slides prepared to kind of go through the overview of the project and give you guys a little bit of a feel of what kind of impacts you'll experience, and along with that, the time frame of some of these, the phasing. So the first thing I'd like to do is orient everyone to the slide. This is the Wards Ferry Road section of the project, and when we're going through these, pay close attention to the highlighted portions that are in yellow, because as we're talking about the slides, these will be the affected work areas. For example, you'll see that there'll be some clearing along Wards Ferry Road. Along with that, there'll be 3 sediment ponds that'll need to go in, 1 at the back of Copley and 2 at the ball fields, and then a water line installation that'll happen at the base of this, but at the base of this pond, all the way up to the entrance to Heritage High School. Now, what can you expect during this water line installation? Well, you can expect to see flaggers and one-way traffic, and this portion of the project will take place from the spring of 2017 to the summer of 2017. Now, once we complete that, we'll move into the northbound section of Wards Ferry Road. Now, the activities that are going to be occurring on this slide is the demolition and rough grading, installation of storm, curb and gutter, stone placement, base asphalt mix. And what you can expect as far as traffic impacts would be a one-way lane of traffic with flaggers, basically from Watergate Drive down to somewhere right in here above Adams Drive. It's just a pinch point on the project, but we're going to try to maintain two-way traffic as much as we can. The two-way traffic benefits us just as much as the public, so we're going to do everything we can to maintain two-way traffic. And this portion of the project is slated to start the spring of 2017 or summer 2017, run to about the spring of 2018. Now, once we complete that portion of Wards Ferry Road, we're going to do a traffic switch and then start constructing the southbound portion of the lane. Similar activities: demolition, rough grading, storm, curb and gutter, stone placement, base asphalt. What kind of impacts of traffic? Similar thing. You'll see one lane of traffic with flaggers at this pinch point. So it's not the whole phase, but there are portions of the phase that will be affected with one-way traffic. Again, we'll maintain two-way traffic as much as we can as we're working, because again, it benefits us. This portion of the project is slated to start the summer of 2018 and go to about the fall of 2018. Okay, now we're looking at the Logan's Lane and the ramp side of the project. The portions in yellow here, you'll see the old restaurant that's going to be demolished, the clearing and the installation of the sediment pond. And we don't expect any traffic impact during these activities. This is slated to start very soon. In the next week or two, we'll demo that chop house and put in the pond shortly after that. And again, spring, summer 2017. What you're looking at here on this slide is the construction of the upper and lower portions of the roundabout. Our plan is to construct as much as we can, as close as we can to the ramp without affecting traffic. Now, there will be a few nights of scattered ramp closures because we have a couple of lines to get up underneath the ramp of storm. You can see them there. They're the lines in blue. So we're going to try to do that work at night so that it doesn't impact traffic during the day, but we will have to shut it down and have it reopen back up first thing in the morning. This is slated to start summer of 2017 and finish around the early spring of 2018. After that's done, we'll move into what we're calling phase two this is still phase one, but we'll move into the installation of the Shules entrance, the new entrance there, the tie-in at Timberlake Road, and then the intersection of Credit Beacon Union and the Logan's Lane intersection. Now, during this phase of the project, you can't expect flaggers and you can't expect some one-way traffic during work hours, but after work hours, we're going right back to two-way traffic. We'll put it back as best we can with some stone, but there'll be just a little bit of one-way traffic here. Also, you can expect a short duration of an altered route. With that being said, we'll have to reroute traffic up into a portion of the completed roundabout and out to Timberlake Road, and then again back down and to get access to these homes back here and Credit Beacon Union. This portion of the work is slated to go in the spring of 2018. Now, this slide is showing the tying together of the upper and lower portion of the roundabout. When this work happens, we'll have to shut the ramp down, tie this thing together, and get the ramp open back up. During this time, there'll be a detour, which you'll see on the next slide, but we're going to try to have this done in 30 days or less. That's the goal that we've set, and that's the goal that we're going to hit. This is slated to go in the spring of 2018 as well. Here's a slide of the detour. As you can see, you'll have to take exit 10B, hit Graves Mill Road, run down, and then come out at Timberlake. After that ramp is opened back up and traffic is flowing through it, we're going to slide into Timberlake Road, construct that turn lane, that concrete median, and you can expect some lane closures and some flaggers when we do this. This work is slated to go in the late spring, early summer of 2018. And then this slide is kind of showing the anticipated signal completion and traffic switch of both sides of the project, so Wards Ferry Road and Logan's Lane, and how it's all tying together at Timberlake. this is a slide of the final surface and striping of the project. During this phase, you can expect some lane closures, some traffic switches, because we'll have to pave and stripe up one side, switch traffic, pave and stripe up the other side. This is slated to go in the fall of 2018. And I'm going to open up the floor to any questions or comments that anybody might have. Yes, sir.
People who need to be able to go through the intersection will be turning and going down Old Graysville Road. Is that correct?
During the ramp shutdown, yes, sir.
How long will that be?
30 days or less.
That's all?
That's all.
I heard about different things about that.
Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't really tell from your drawing there, if you're on Timberlake Road turning onto Wards Ferry Road by the school, are they extending that turn lane?
Okay. So your question again?
If you're coming down Timberlake Road taking a right onto Wards Ferry Road by the school, are they extending that turn lane on Timberlake? I can't tell.
Yeah, no, ma'am. They're extending. They're extending the left turn lane, or adding a left turn lane in this section. I don't have a red. No, ma'am. No.
That's a big issue.
Timberlake traffic should be affected very little over the course of the traffic. Really, the only thing that's being done out on the road is extending that turn lane. So the positive side, there'll be very little impact to the Timberlake traffic. I guess the one negative, that there's not going to be much different other than more storage volume.
Well, I'm just saying because it needs to be bigger, even as it is right now. Yeah, it is. It's too short. That's part of why it backs up onto Timberlake Road, because that turn lane is too short.
My understanding is that there's not going to be lights when this is done at the Wards Ferry Timberlake turn right there. Is that true or not?
There is going to be new traffic signalization done during this. There will be new traffic signalization done, yes. I didn't touch on it, but yes. Yes, sir, there will be. Yes, sir. That's probably a future project. I know there was a big study done on Wards Ferry Road, but it's just not included in this one.
The city engineer is shaking his head. That's a separate project.
The turn lane is too short.
Almost all the way up to the East Building.
That's a good suggestion for the city.
With-
Yes, ma'am.
With what they're able to do with the traffic, so because they change the road coming this way.
Already
They may be
can't
able
get in, we can't get out.
Right.
When you are
exactly.
working down there at school, all over the city and all that, you have flags in.
Yes, ma'am. We will have flaggers. I'll go back to a few slides. So you're concerned about Adams Drive right here. Okay. Yes, ma'am. We will have, when we're working down in here, we'll have a flagger on this side, a flagger on this side, a flagger here, and a flagger at the school when we're working in there. So we'll always have flaggers on each road to get traffic in and out. Access isn't going to be a problem at all. It will not be a problem. Yes, ma'am.
Listen, when you're doing all this work to start this summer, are you going to be doing any of it at the non-peak traffic times? Because, starting at 4 o'clock, we can't even get out of Dean Street half the time on the Wards Ferry Road. That's way on up there. And you get there here, you stop the traffic, and it backs on up, even at the light now. At the light, no flagger, it's backed up all the way down the hill. Are you going to do any of this work, any of the times that's not peak traffic, like in the morning when school comes in, and people go to work, or in the afternoon when they're coming home? What are you going to be doing this? What's your hours?
Our hours? Well, the hours set on the project are from 7 in the morning to 7 p.m. So, I grew up on a farm, and we all know if you've grown up on a farm, you have to make hay while the sun's shining. I know there's a lot of issues with people trying to get to where they're going, and the congestion is bad. But you know, there will be a few growing pains, but at the end of the day, it's going to be better for everyone involved. We're there to help. We're there to help people get to where they're going, and that's our goal while we're out there too. Yes, we do have a job to do, but we're not going to forget about the traffic and the people that are trying to get to where they're going. Yes, sir.
Will there be any impact to the Timberlake Road and Leesville Road intersection, just one block up?
One block up from.
From
By Heritage
Lynchburg.
The project doesn't extend any farther, west on Leesville, on Timberlake there, so there should be no impacts at all.
Just traffic.
Are they coming out of the roundabout? Is that going to send more traffic onto that intersection?
It's, well, ultimately, it's going to be the same. You know, right now you have two roads within a block of each other. They're going to be combined with one, and it should flow more smoothly. There'll be more lanes, so traffic will surely flow more smoothly than folks making the current zigzag. So I would anticipate it would improve.
There's no change. There'll still be just turning down to Leesville Road. It'll still be just one turn lane. Is that correct?
Right, still just the one turn lane.
And no change in the size of the lanes or anything like that.
Right, not as a part of this project.
Yes, sir.
On Wardsburg Road, right in front of the school, how many lanes are there?
In the new design?
Yes.
So, go ahead.
So in front of Wards Ferry Road, going from CBC towards Timberlake,
Right.
there's one through lane continuously. As you approach the light, there'll be a dual left turn lane. The right left turn lane will also go through. So if you go into Logan's Lane, you can go into Beacon Credit Union or wherever,
How
then
many
there'll be a
lanes?
dedicated right turn lane.
How many
Would you
lanes
use the
going
microphone,
each way?
please, when you're speaking? Thank you.
How many lanes going each way?
Okay, so going the other way, going from Timberlake back towards CVCC, there's two lanes. The right lane is really very quickly becomes a dedicated right turn lane into Heritage High School. So then there's the one through lane. So you have a little bit more capacity there. Again, hopefully that will help with some of that right turn lane that was mentioned off Timberlake onto Wards Ferry, having two lanes there that, you know, the folks that are turning into Heritage can just stay in that turn lane and keep out of the through lane.
No, you said the right turn lane is also a straight through? Because that a lot of traffic is just trying to turn right when you have to sit, wait for through traffic to go. So there's no single, just only dedicated right turn lane coming off of Wards Ferry, is there?
Coming off of Wards Ferry, there is not a dedicated. Yeah, there's right. The middle lane, it is a little hard to see. It is perhaps a little hard to see, but there's three lanes. There's three lanes there. The two left ones, both are left turn lanes. The rightmost one is the one that goes through. The right lane is a dedicated right turn lane.
Okay, so there's two that go right and one to
I had a question regarding the detour, where Old Ferry runs into Nationwide. There's a four-way stop intersection right now. Is there any consideration towards turning that into a roundabout, just for long-term improvements?
There is a yield to the four-way stop.
This is Lee Newland, the city engineer.
That is a future project that we have on our books. There's no funding for it currently, but we are looking at doing something there to turn the four-way stop into a roundabout, yes.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the diagram that where Beacon Credit Union Logan's Lane, you had the blue lines, and you said that, that would be worked on in a night project. Exactly what do those lines consist of?
Storm lines.
Just a storm.
carry
It's
storm
nothing
water.
like fiber optic, nothing like that.
The utilities have almost completely been moved out of the way. There's still, I think within the next 2-3 weeks, we'll complete that, so they're completely out of the way. So the great news is there will be no delay due to utilities to the project that we foresee now. Yes, sir.
So coming out of Logan's Lane, what are the lanes going to be? Left turn, straight, right turn?
All right, so your access to everything along Logan's Lane, Shules, Beacon Credit Union, all the properties back there will all be through this new access point here at the single intersection. So let's start if we're coming off the ramp or if you're coming from any of the businesses or properties. You'll enter the traffic circle. There is just one lane there. The one lane, as you approach the intersection, will divide into 3 lanes. So there's a through lane, a dedicated through lane that goes straight on towards Ferry. There's a right turn lane that is a dedicated right turn lane. And then the left lane is a dual left turn lane and through lane towards Ferry. So your primary lane probably is right here if you're going through towards Wards Road, towards CVCC. So that's coming out to Timberlake. On Logan's Lane, again, it's primarily just one lane there. You do have a dedicated left going into Shules. If you're coming off Timberlake, again, and your goal is to go to Beacon or to the properties, you will be actually going through the traffic circle, around, and then into these outlets here.
So if I'm coming, if you're showing on this down Timberlake Road and want to keep going out of town, I have to come into that traffic circle, go all the way around. There's going to be one right lane to keep me going straight through, correct?
If you're on Timberlake, you'll just keep cruising down. Oh no, not at all. Yeah. Timberlake will operate as it always has. Like I said, the only difference you're going to see in Timberlake is there'll be one less light, and the turn lane will be longer. That's the only changes, really. Yes.
You're gonna change the lights up there so that when you come off of Logan's Lane, they have the light, and we're stopped over here on Wards Ferry, and then Wards Ferry gets the light to go, or you're gonna have it like it is now, so that we can all run under that yellow light and get in the head-on traffic. Yeah.
Right. So a part of any new signal design is a complete analysis of, the timings for each of those turns. As you can see, there's a number of different turn cycles, and some places that you had one turn lane, now you've got 2. So so the timings will change, I would say, probably fairly dramatically from what they are now. That's something that gets installed and then analyzed and tweaked once it's in service. So that is, as Brent mentioned, our anticipated date for that is about a year from now, probably May to perhaps early June of 2018. Probably wait till school gets out just for wisdom there, and then that's definitely where part of the process is always to see how traffic is handling those situations, and tweaks and improvements that the city will perform at that point. But there is a full analysis of that, which is part of what his signal contractor will be responsible for finishing.
I have a question. All right, you're on Timberlake Road leaving the city, going west.
Okay.
You mentioned something about a stoplight. Where would that stoplight be?
So this will be your large signalized intersection. The current second signal up there at the off-ramp will be gone. Right, so the only signal will be right here. It'll be a 4-way signalized. Exactly like it is now, right. With only one stoplight.
Yes, absolutely. Is it possible that have all the stoplights on Timberlake Road out to the end of the city limits all be
Thank you. Yes.
almost said something else. Have them all synchronized, and then when they all turn red, then all the speeding streets into Timberlake Road can have their green light. I mean, you know, you go 50 feet, they got another stop.
Yeah, there's two sections of Timberlake Road that kind of function as separate sections. The first section starts at Long Meadows and Edgewood. Is that the name of it, I think? Long Meadows at Post Office. So that one, the one at Fenwick, the one at the off-ramp further down at Old Grays Mill Road, and then this one and the one at Leesville kind of all work together. They're all close enough to, and those we're in the process of doing it. This project fixes this signal. The one at Fenwick's already been done, and the one at Long Meadows has already been done. So there's the one at the ramp we've got to take care of, and the one at Leesville we've got to add equipment to get that to work as one. Yes, yes. And then this section doesn't line up with the signals further out at Dreaming Creek and Candlewood Court. Those are kind of together as well.
Once you get into Campbell County, will Campbell County do their lights? Of course, it's a state highway.
Right.
So it's really the highway department.
Yes, that's correct. But there is a study going on now that looks at Timberlake Road from basically Leesville on out, and some of the things they're looking at. It's just getting underway. It's through the Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Since it's not in your plan right now to extend that turn lane off of Timberlake on towards Ferry, is that a future plan? Because that's a huge problem. Coming down Timberlake, the turn of the light by the high school.
The only thing I can tell you now is that's something we'll look at. We had not, in these previous plans, we had not heard that was an issue. It doesn't appear to us, but I think this light and changing this will make it better because it'll give you more traffic to be able to get off.
Now that's the only way to get into the high school. It's a huge problem because that's the only way to get in the high school.
Right.
And then the Liberty students going, the turn lane's just not long enough.
Okay, that's something we'll look into. Obviously, when this project started, the school here it was before the school knew if it was going to be here or not. So we kind of had a cross there.
I thought you said if people want to turn they don't want to turn.
This is the one that will be longer. The one that was being discussed just there is the right turn lane here. Right, this is the one that will not be extended. This one will be approximately doubled. Yeah.
You have a entrance on Leesville Road, came through and came there on West Ferry Road at one point in time. And now it's been cut off, and it's going to be opened back up.
No. Through the high school? No.
Yes. That's the schools.
So that's the other way for you to get in rather than having to come through that turn. But now it's cut off. So. And that's a bad place to that too when you come to the school.
That's part of the school's operations. From what I understand from some of them at the school board or the school administration, is that for the safety issues of the school here, they want to keep the buses separate from the students. So that's why they've got separated where you can't go through. Once they get finished with the rest of the demolition and building the fields, that's going to be a separate entrance from both sides. And I want to say one other thing. I've had a couple questions about the roundabout. You won't be going through the roundabout unless you are on Timberlake Road or Ward's Ferry and you want to go to Shules, Beacon Credit Union, or the apartments or the houses back behind it. You know, the upper part of the roundabout is for that. It's for the traffic getting off of Timberlake Road to go up and go around to get to those areas. And then if you're getting off of Timberlake Road on the ramp, you will go through a portion of the roundabout. If you're on Timberlake Road and staying on Timberlake Road, you will not go through the roundabout at all.
It doesn't have anything to do with this project, but is anything that thought about doing anything with Ward's Ferry Road? But it carries a lot of traffic.
There was a corridor study done a couple of years ago, and there are spot improvements on Ward's Ferry Road that are trying to be put into the city's capital improvement program, but currently none of them are have been funded other than right here at the beginning at the school. But they have been looked at, they're just not funded currently.
Do you know your overlap on finishing Greenview and when this one starts?
That's a good question.
Maybe should be careful to say this, but I do have some involvement in both projects. Greenview will be having a major traffic switch in the next month, which should actually further help that flow a little bit better. There'll be some shifting onto portions of the new roadway. Greenview's current anticipated completion date is fall of this year, with final completion, maybe even mid-fall of the year. So there will be some overlap, and I would not. I mean, personally, as I mentioned to you before, I wouldn't imagine that the two would affect each other. Greenview actually flows better today than it did before construction started, and once traffic switches, I think it'll be even more so. But we'll have to see. There will be some overlap.
There is no signal on Ward's Ferry at the high school.
Correct. And part of with the dedicated turn lanes going both directions, that's part of what will enable that to be a safe situation. But that's correct. If you look down at the other one, there's no added signal down at School Drive and Adams.
And I will make one comment about the students' access to Ferry High School. Steve Sprouse brought this to my attention, but currently right now there's a parking lot being constructed for the students at Heritage, and the students will be able to access that parking lot and park in it off of Leesville Road. So that will take a lot of the student traffic off of Wards Ferry Road, get it onto Leesville Road. So that should, once the rest of this high school's current construction is completed, that should help alleviate some of that traffic congestion too.
Are there any previous plans widen Ward Road itself? Because right now, people are cutting through Ward's Ferry. Every day when I get home from work, I gotta sit down and wait because they will not leave the space where I have to turn into Ward Ferry. Along with the bump. And the same thing when I try to come out, they won't let you out.
That's a good question for the city, but as far as I know, I don't think there are any plans to widen Wards Road.
We're at the Ward Road.
Yes, ma'am.
I really don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
Right off of Lisa Road. And with all the construction of new condos and apartments and subdivisions and what have you, all in the Timberlake area, whether it's on Wards Ferry Road, or Leesville, or Greenview, Timberlake, on Old Graceville Road, traffic has just got horrible. So I really, really hope that the city will continue to monitor and watch this because it's just a nightmare living out this part of town.
I'm sure the city is aware and concerned, and there could be traffic studies being done now on it. I just don't know I don't know. But thank you.
When they were planning on building the school, why didn't they see this coming and have it all ready at the same time?
We just couldn't get it ready fast enough before the school. The school was on a fast track to get it finished, and our project was not quite as on a fast of a track. We didn't have it fully funded to start with, and by the time we did get funding, we also were trying to do the Logan's Lane project. Actually, Logan's Lane was first, and it was going forward, and we had to put the brakes on it to try to get the section here at Wards Ferry Road done. And we're not quite where we wanted to be, but we were trying to get it done as when the school was being finished, but it just didn't happen.
Yes, sir.
It's all nice to divide this up in phases as far as construction goes. How will there be notification daily on lane closures or flagging or over this?
We have to give a couple weeks notice whenever we decide to close a lane. So we'll go through the proper avenues, and I'm sure there'll be message boards and proper notice will be given. So it isn't just going to be one morning you wake up and, oh, there's a lane closed, or one morning you wake up and the traffic is switched, and that won't happen.
Lynchburg alerts. If you haven't signed up for Lynchburg alerts, do so. The probably all road closures will be put on there as well.
Coming off of Adams Drive, I'm looking right. When are they gonna cut the damn trees?
Very soon.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Brian, and just want to thank everyone for coming out, and I hope that you bear with us as we're out there working, and we're going to try to work as safely as we can and keep everyone in mind that's on the road, and we all got to work together on this thing, and by the time it's over and said and done, it's going to be a huge improvement for everyone in this area. So just keep that in mind, but thank you.
We'll stay around for a little while. If you want to, now that we've talked a little more about the specifics, you want to come up and talk to some of the folks here. We'll stick around for a little while until 7:30. There's some cards up at the table in the front if you're interested in any contact information for future questions. Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
Sorry, the last meeting that was held for this, when it was still on the 24-month plan, it was spelled out, or it was given out the amount of money it was going to cost.
Great question.
Changing to the 18-month, how does that affect the price?
Right, so that's another one of the good news numbers. From the original total budget number that was funded, the total cost of this project is reduced by $4 million. So the original approved budget, this is everything, including right-of-way and engineering and the construction, was the original budget was $12.5 million, and it's a little bit over $8 million at the moment. So, yeah. All right. So with that, feel free to come up and ask any questions you wish. Like I said, the room will be open until 7:30.